Good morning to all. Myself Professor T.M. Divakar, working as Assistant Professor in ENTC Department in Sharad Institute of Technology, College of Engineering, Yadgaon, Ichaganji. So today we are going to see the human rights of mentally ill. So this is the introduction part. So as we know that all persons with a mentally illness or who are being treated as such persons shall be treated with humanity and respect for the inherent dignity of the human person, and there shall be no discriminations on the grounds of mental illness. So all human rights organizations set forth codes by which they align their purposes and activities. So the Mental Health Declaration of Human Rights articulates the guiding principles of CCHR, means Citizen Communication of Human Rights, and the standards against which human rights violations by psychiatry are relentlessly investigated and exposed. So mental health, what is meant by mental health? So mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities and can cope with the normal stresses of life, and it can work productively and fruitfully, and it is also able to make a contributions to his or her community. So what is mental illness? So mental illness is a recognized medically diagnosable illness that results in the significant impairments of an individual cognitive, affective, or relational abilities. So mental disorders results from biological developments and or psychosocial factors and can be managed using approaches comparable to those applied to physical diseases. For example, prevention, diagnosis, treatments, and rehabilitations. So next one is human rights. So what are the human rights for the mentally illness? So the simplest way of defining the human rights is that they are about the balancing the inalienable rights of all of us as human being within the community, regardless differences in birth, social origin, gender, psychosocial differences, faith and belief, ideology, nationality, and so on. The psychiatric patients currently have the following rights: the rights to communicate with the people outside the hospital through the correspondence, through the telephone, and personal visits. Next one, right to wear the clothing and personal effects with them in the hospitals, right to religion freedoms, right to be employed if possible, and right to manage and dispose of properties, right to execute bills, right to enter into contra cultural relationship. So these are some rights which is given to the psychiatric patients. Again, there are some rights, that is the right to education, right to habeas corpus, right to independent psychiatric examinations, right to civil service status, right to retain licenses, privileges or permits the established by the laws, such ASHA drivers or professional license, rights to use or be used, rights to marry and divorce, rights to make the purchase, right to hygienic conditions. So there are lots of rights for the psychiatric patients. Again, the rights not to be subject to unnecessary mechanical restraints, right to periodic review of status, right to legal representations, right to privacy, right to informed consent, right to treatment, right to reuse treatment, right to treatment in the least restrictive settings, and some of these rights deserve a more through discussions. So one of the right is right to communicate with the people outside the hospital. That is, this right allows patient to visit or hold the telephone conversations in privacy and send unopened letters to anyone of their choice, including judges, lawyers, families, and staffs. Although The patient has the right to communicate in uncensored manners. The staff may limit the access to the telephones or visitors when it could harm the patient or to be a source of harassment for the staff. The hospital also can limit the times when telephone calls are made and received and when visitors can enter the facility. The right to keep the personal effects. That is, the patient may bring clothing and personal items to the hospitals, taking into considerations the amount of storage space available, and the hospital is not responsible for their safety, and valuable items should be left at home. If the patient brings something of value to the hospital, the staff should place it in the hospital safe or otherwise provide for maintaining a safe environment, and should take dangerous objects away from the patient if necessary. Next one, right to enter into contractual relationship. That is, the court considers contracts valid if the person understands the circumstances of the contract and its consequences. Once again, psychiatric illness does not invalidate contracts, although the nature of contracts and degree of judgment needed to understand it are influencing factors. The next one is right to education. That is, many patient exercises the right to education on behalf of their emotionally ill or mentally retarded children. That is, the US Constitution guarantees these rights to everyone, although many states have not provided adequate educations to all citizens in the past and are now required to do so. Next one is the right to habeas corpus. That is, habeas corpus is an important constitutional rights patients retain in all the states, even if they have been involuntarily hospitalized. It provides for the speedy release of any person who claims to be detained illegally. A committed patient may file a writ at any time on the grounds of being sane and eligible for release. The hearing takes place in court, where those who wish to restrain the patient must defend their actions. the patients are discharged if they are judged to be sane. Next one is the right to privacy. That is, the right to privacy implies the person's right to keep some personal information completely secret or confidentially. That is, confidentiality involves the non disclosure of specific information about a person to someone else unless authorized by that person. That is, every psychiatric professional is responsible for protecting a patient's right to confidentiality, including even the knowledge that a person is in treatment or in a hospital. Revealing such information might result in damage to the patients, and the protection of law applies to all the patients. Next one is the right to informed consent. That is, the goal of informed consent is to help the patients to make better decisions. And the informed consent means that clinicians must give the patients a certain amount of information about the proposed treatment and must attain the patient's consent, which must be informed and competent and voluntary. Next one is the information to be disclosed in obtaining informed consent diagnosis, that is description of patient's problem, treatment means nature and purpose of the proposed treatment. The consequences, that is the risk and benefits of the proposed treatments, including physical and psychological effects, costs and potential resulting problems. Next, alternatives, that is the viable alternatives to the proposed treatments and their risks and benefits. Next one is prognosis, that is the expected outcomes with the treatments, with alternative treatments and without treatments. Next one is the right to treatment, that is early court cases extended the rights to treatment to all mentally ill and mentally retarded people who were involuntarily hospitalized. The court defined three criteria for adequate treatments. Number one, a human psychological and the physical environments. Number two, a qualified staff with a sufficient number of members to administer adequate treatment. Number third, individualized treatment plans. The next, right to refuse the treatment. That is, the relationship between the right to treatment and right to refuse treatment is complex. because the right to refuse treatment includes the right to refuse involuntary hospitalizations, and it has been called the right to left the alone. And the involuntary therapy conflicts with two basic legal rights: freedom of thoughts and right to control one's life, and the actions as long as they do not interfere with the rights of others. The next one is the right to treatment in the least restrictive settings. So there are two more rights. The right to treatment in the least restrictive setting is closely related to the right to adequate treatment, and its goal is evaluating the need of each patient and maintaining the greatest amount of personal freedom, autonomy, dignity, and integrity in determining the treatments. So, this right applies to both the hospital based and community programs. Another consideration in the least restrictive alternative is that it applies not only to when a person should be hospitalized, but also to how a person is cared for. It requires that a patient progress be carefully monitored so that treatment plans are changed based on the patient's current conditions. So, what are the legal aspects? The legal aspects of mentally ill is: number one, civil commitment, competence and informed consent to treatment. Next one is the right to treatment in hospital and community, and recommendations. Confidentiality and coordinations of care. So, what is the role of nurse in patient's rights? So, the National League for Nursing, that is in 1977, issued a statement on the nurse roles in patient rights. The league urged nurses to get involved in ensuring the patient's human and legal rights. So, the league identified many of the previously mentioned following rights. Number one, right to health care that is accessible and meet the professional standards regardless of the settings. Next one, right to courteous and individualized health care that is equitable, human, and given without discriminations based on race, color, creed, sex, national origin, source of payment, or ethical or political beliefs. Right to information about their diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment, including alternatives to care and risk involved. Next one is right to information about the qualifications, names, the title of the healthcare personnels, right to refuse observation by those not directly involved in their cares, right to coordinations and continuity of the healthcare, right to informations on the charges for services, including the rights to challenges these charges. Above all, the rights to be fully informed about all their rights in all healthcare settings. So, thank you.